This is a massive video filled with tons of research. Please use the timestamps in the description to select whatever information you wish to know about. But it's worth watching the entire story unfold to get the full understanding of the Yakuza recast. I have a theory that Yong Yea was told to imitate Darryl Kurylo's voice by Sega America, and this video will present evidence for my theory, along with evidence that Sega did hire him for his YouTube following and are creating a story around it. Now, a quick disclaimer before we begin: you can skip to the next timestamp if you want to get to the meat and potatoes of this video. But don't come after me for being rude or disrespectful to these actors without listening to this first, because PR and marketing is a dirty, dirty business. Yong Yea is not the right match for Kiryu, but having one bad role does not make him a bad voice actor, especially when he's done impressive voice work before. It makes the people pushing him into an ill-fitting role to simply hijack his following at fault, especially when they are telling him one thing, but fans are saying another. He's caught in the middle and doesn't know who to believe. YouTubers and streamers have every right to take opportunities that are presented to them by these companies. It also helps market their own brands for cross-promotion. I think it's fun when they get rewarded for all the hard efforts they put into building a successful brand like Yong Yea and the other streamers I will talk about in this video. Good on them for creating successful brands video game companies want to work with. Many things I'm about to point out will look like I'm directing criticism directly onto Yong Yea and the other YouTubers I'll be mentioning. Understand this is not my intention. This also means after this video, don't directly harass anyone I mentioned. We are free to discuss marketing and PR tactics and practices, and unfortunately, actors are often intertwined and impossible to separate from these PR and marketing schemes. Delving into the marketing and PR shows the dark truths behind many decisions that are made with recasts, and I do apologize beforehand if this shows any of the content creators I talk about in this video in a bad light. Voice your concerns with the companies, not the individual actors. They are most likely being manipulated and used by these marketers too. Okay, let's get into it. On June 21st of 2023, Yong Yea announced he was the new voice of Kazuma Kiryu in Yakuza Like a Dragon Gaiden and Infinite Wealth. He would later return to voice Kiryu again in the recent Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, cementing the fact that he would now be the new voice of Kiryu going forward, despite all the public fan backlash and controversy surrounding his casting. Why did they recast Kiryu for the spin-off of Gaiden and the sequel Infinite Wealth? The characters that make a comeback in Gaiden are reprised by the same voice actors as Like a Dragon, and it's a continuation of the events of Like a Dragon, so why is there a different voice for the main protagonist and face of the Yakuza franchise? Remember this guy, Ryan Lacina? The one who worked at Square Enix on the recast of Final Fantasy VII Remake and then moved over to Sega in October 2022? Yeah, let's do this again. Yong Yea released a detailed video explaining how he received the audition for Kiryu along with how he perfected the voice. To summarize, he said the email for the audition slipped through the cracks.
They sent me the audition for this project, but here's a fun fact. I almost missed auditioning for Like a Dragon because every once in a while, an email slips through that, I don't know, I just forget to mark as an audition, or that just for some reason, I just don't end up reading and it just falls through the cracks. It happens very infrequently, but when it does happen, it really sucks. And this email happened to be one of those that fell through the cracks. I never saw it.
Keith Aram, the casting and voice director, contacted him directly asking where his audition was, stating there were many characters to cast for and that he had something in mind for him.
They actually had me in mind for this other role that they're like, oh, Yong would be perfect for this. And so they actually hit me up directly a month after that initial batch of auditions was sent through my agent. When they realized that I didn't respond, they're like, hey, we noticed that you did an audition for this. Do you want to audition for this? We have something in mind for you, and we have all these characters that we need to cast. So do you want to send something in? I'm like, oh my God, thank you for letting me know and for the heads up.
He said he was contacted directly due to his smaller role in the Yakuza DLC, which is always possible.
But fortunately, I had worked with PCB Productions before on another project. You may recall that Lost Judgment, which is set in the Yakuza universe, released a DLC called The Kaito Files, and I played the final boss in that game, Yasutaka Shirakawa. And so I'd worked with PCB before.
And it's a nice gesture that even when Keith Aram has access to thousands of other actors and probably had hundreds of other auditions for the roles they needed to fill, he personally called Yong Yea and asked him where his audition was. Yong Yea then stated he worked for days getting Kiryu's voice right and then sent it off. He received notes from Keith Aram telling him to add emotion to the acting for the callback.
And the note that I was given was, lo and behold, try to find more emotional nuances in the script. And I went, thank God for giving me the second chance.
Afterwards, he got the approval from Sega, and he was a new voice of Kiryu. He said he was recording another project at PCB Productions when Keith Aram told him he booked the role as Kiryu. I can only guess what the other project was. So let's break this down. It is absolutely possible that what Yong Yea described happened exactly the way it did. And it is also possible that this was a practice story created to show he was not offered the main role of Kiryu due to his online following. When dealing with marketing and PR, anything is possible, even if it's not the truth. With Ryan Lacina's history of recasting, it would be a probable statement that he was looking for influential people to take the role of Kiryu from Kurylo, just like he had celebrities Tyler Hoechlin and Cody Christian take over the roles of Sephiroth and Cloud from the original actors. Ryan Lacina joined Sega October 22, and then we see Daniel Dae Kim and Danny Trejo both join the roster of Infinite Wealth in November 30th, 2023. Yes, there have been celebrities in the past that have made appearances such as George Takei in Like a Dragon 2020, the likeness of celebrities, and even Japanese celebrities. But there seems to be a stronger push in the Western market now with these new titles wanting more celebrities. There was supposedly a poll released in 2024 asking what celebrities player wanted in the game, but I can't help but think it could have been fake seeing how there are voice actors on the list that are already in the game, but there is a pattern being established. Anywhere Lacina goes, more recast, more celebrities, more YouTubers. When asked about why he wasn't returning for Kiryu, Darryl Kurylo expressed the sentiment that he was glad they got an actor closer to Kiryu's culture. But was that the excuse Sega told Kurylo why he was recast? In the article How to Localize a Game, the Sega America team says, thankfully, the industry, and perhaps more importantly consumers, have changed a lot since those days, and we're now able to be more faithful to the cultural and emotional content of Japanese games than ever, the Sega team said. So did they tell Kurylo they had to go with more authentic casting due to Kiryu being Japanese? Let me check the other characters' voice actors again. Okay. I see. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. But it's because of the union. Yong Yea is a union actor, and most of these actors are also union actors. It's not because of the union. If Aram was looking for authentic casting to replace Kurylo, why did Aram not choose voice actor Alex Lee, who did the ADR for Kiryu in Infinite Wealth, and also voiced Kiryu in the live-action Yakuza, but instead chose Yong Yea, who just happened to have 1.18 million followers? Seeing the other voice actors in the game, we know it's not a truthful argument that the characters have to have authentic casting. That was most likely the excuse Sega America used to replace Kurylo with YouTuber Yong Yea. And we will talk about how Sega America can manipulate localization of Sega Japan later in this video. Yong Yea could have been working hard on this audition because the audition notes might have included instructions to get as close to Kurylo's voice as possible, which is why he was so focused on getting the voice right. He even stated the voice he sent for the audition sounded like Kiryu.
Once I felt comfortable with the voice, I did the audition and did a lot of adjustments over the course of days, and once I felt satisfied, I sent it in. But I remember listening back to it like a couple days later and realizing that I made the grave mistake of focusing too much on the voice and not on the performance and the emotions. The performance felt very flat. The voice sounded like Kiryu.
If we compare this to FF7 Remake, Paul Tinto, the new VA for Kate Sith, said in the audition email that he was giving the voice clip of the original actor and the note to match or stay close as possible to the original actor.
Well, there was a clip in there, and they had said that they were looking to try and match or be very, very close to what had already been created.
Showing projects that have Lacina working on them can include a voice match. Since Gaiden did include the exact same scene Kurylo voiced from Like a Dragon, let's take a look and see how it compares to Yong Yea.
Leave this part to me.
Leave this part to me.
You guys worry about the front line.
You guys worry about the front line.
I'll protect the back.
I'll protect the back.
Even if it costs me my life.
Even if it costs me my life.
If you have a good ear, you'll notice Yong Yea is copying Darryl Kurylo's performance. Why is he doing that? To keep consistency with the original scene in Like a Dragon, so when players play Like a Dragon, Gaiden, and then move to Infinite Wealth, they might not notice that big of a difference and the characters retain some consistency throughout their projects. If consistency is that important, why hire a new actor to have them get close to the original voice and then just copy the same performance of the original actor?
Why get an impression when you've got the real deal? Still alive and kicking and...
I assume that's a joke, but I'm not laughing.
Wouldn't it have been a better idea to just get the original actor to begin with to truly have consistency? With the announcement trailer for Gaiden in September 2022, I wouldn't be surprised if the voice actors were already working on the English localization to prepare for the November 2023 release. And knowing how consistent the ARMs are with their casting, Kurylo might have initially been working on the project until he was fired and replaced with Yong Yea, similar to what we saw with Steve Burton in FF7 Remake. Lacina announced his new position at Sega on October 17, 2022, 1 month after Gaiden was announced. Is that the reason the Gaiden English dub was pushed back by exactly 1 month due to re-recording over what Kurylo was already working on? Maybe. It's also worth to note that in Gaiden, they were lip-syncing with the Japanese performance, while in Like a Dragon 2020 and Infinite Wealth, they used ADR lip-syncing to match the lips of the actor. I wonder how it is now with proper lip-syncing ADR.
You won't come to me. Then I'm coming to you!
This could also be the reason the English dub's release was delayed, because they kept rewriting scenes to match the lip sync, even though the English script was done at the time of release. I won't leave you without more proof of Lacina working on a project that has the new voice actors copy a performance of the original actors, even though it was stated they needed to have new voices for the characters. This move was also used in Crisis Core Reunion. The new actors re-recorded the original Crisis Core and copied the performances of the original cast instead of using the PSP voice files of the original cast like they did in the Japanese version. They did this for consistency with FF7 Remake, even after stating the voice cast change was only for the FF7 Trilogy project.
A human copy?
Copy? A human copy?
Where's Angeal?
Where's Angeal?
I thought he was fighting around here.
I thought he was fighting around here.
It means Angeal has betrayed us as well.
It means Angeal has betrayed us as well.
I know what kind of guy Angeal is, and he'd never do that.
I know what kind of guy Angeal is, and he'd never do that.
Angeal wouldn't betray us. Never!
Angeal wouldn't betray us. Never!
You fell from the sky. You fell from the sky.
Huh?
Scared me.
Huh?
Scared me. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
They're like luxury items around here.
They're like luxury items around here.
They only grow here. They only grow here. Although, I planted some outside my house too.
If I were you, I'd sell them.
If I were you, I'd sell them.
There was nothing done differently than what the original cast already did in both the Gaiden scene and Crisis Core Reunion. Why recast just to give the same performance with a voice that's close to the original actor? Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Yong Yea said he was not imitating Kurylo's voice.
I'm not doing an imitation of Darryl Kurylo.
And was more focused on the Japanese actor's portrayal.
I'm drawing more from Kuroda-san's energy and performance.
But Yong Yea's portrayal of Kiryu has the attempted rasp that only Kurylo's performance has. But which one does Yong Yea sound like more?
Leave this part to me.
Leave this part to me.
You guys worry about the front line.
You guys worry about the front line.
I'll protect the back, even if it costs me my life.
I'll protect the back even if it costs me my life.
Briana White also stated she was not copying the performance of the previous actors.
Is that I didn't try to copy any of the voice actors. You know, I listened to the other voice actors.
But you did your own thing.
Yes.
I think that's important.
Yes.
Because if you're just going to mimic someone else, then they might as well have just brought in that same person. And if they're bringing someone in fresh, then surely they want a fresh take on it, right?
Those soldier people are kind of weird. Those soldier people are kind of weird. Uh-huh. But not scary at all. Uh-huh. But not scary at all.
Crisis Core Reunion shows a different story. There is imitation going on. Because she's addressing it in a PR interview, it shows fans have a suspicion that the voice is being copied. Yong Yea said he was hoping for a callback, and he did get one, but only for Kiryu, and none of the other parts.
God, I hope they at least do a callback or something. And thankfully, they did do a callback. I was called back for Kiryu, and the note that I was given was, lo and behold, try to find more emotional nuances in the script. And I went...
After adding the acting to Kiryu and seemingly getting Kurylo's voice down, the next move would be to get the approval of the voice recast from Sega Japan. Japan wants voice actor consistency, and when the North American team wants to shuffle actors around and replace them with whoever they want for marketing, they try to keep as close to the original voice as possible to get Japan's approval of the recast. To the Japanese speaker's ear, Yong Yea's voice sounded close enough to Kurylo's that it didn't ruin the voice consistency of that character. Non-English speakers might not pick up on the nuances that native speakers can, which is why Close Enough works with marketers when presenting new voice actors to Japan. Sega Japan approved of the recast, and Yong Yea was off to the recording studio. Okay, voice consistency confirmed, and YouTuber with 1.18 million followers secured. The marketing department, very happy. Uh-oh, fans no happy. In the wake of fan backlash, PR began to push Yong Yea to the Yakuza producer Hiroyuki Sakamoto, and most importantly to Takaya Kuroda, the Japanese voice actor for Kiryu, to try and get their approval publicly of Yong Yea voicing Kiryu and frame it as a passing of the torch.
Turn around now, and you can go home in one piece. But if you don't, just remember, going down this path was your choice. Now, if you want to die, step up!
I got chills. Okay, so this...
Bravo. Good.
Thank you so much.
Kuroda-san approves! Yes!
Never forget how much Ryan Lacina loves passing of the torch as a marketing move. Marketing the voice actor with the Japanese producers is a good way to show fans how Japan approves of them, but the Japanese team members are really just there because they were told to do it for PR, and to also have lunch. Why do I know marketing picked him for his YouTube following? Because of promotions like this. The official RGG account promotes Yong Yea as a popular YouTuber, but it goes even further. At the Anime Expo convention, hosted by Sega and RGG, Yong Yea was introduced to the crowd as popular YouTuber.
Voice actor, popular YouTuber, and the new English voice of Kazuma Kiryu in Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, Yong Yea!
Look at Pushtinomics, who casted Yong Yea as Baptiste. No mention of Yong Yea or YouTuber. The focus is on the voice performance, which, in my opinion, is phenomenal. MiHoYo casted him in Honkai, but no mention or promotion of YouTuber with the spotlight on his voice acting. Even when RGG first hired Yong Yea in the Kaido files, they did not introduce him as a YouTuber, but by his name, just like all the other voice actors they announced for the roles, showing he was chosen because of his voice. They only announced him as a YouTuber when it came to Kiryu, the main protagonist of the Yakuza franchise. Yong Yea responded to the fans who were alleging he was picked because of his YouTuber status in a tweet saying, "There will always be a loud minority who will claim I get cast because I am a YouTuber. I earned Kiryu. If they only cared about follower numbers, they'd just cast Mr. Beast for everything. John Eric Bentley, the voice actor who took over the role of Barrett in the recent recast of FF7 Remake, even stated that they do look at follower counts when casting to see how much audience that actor will pull in.
Well, the craziest part is, if you want to work in the business of entertainment, you have to be plugged in and you have to have followers. If you don't have followers, people are like, okay, well, if we know he did a great job at the audition, but if we hire him, how many people are going to watch our show? This guy over here sucked at the audition, but he's got 950,000 followers, so we need to hire him. They'll watch the show.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so that changes the game. It's no longer about just talent sometimes, or no longer about just getting hired because of your work ethic or because of your personality or because you can do the damn job. It's about getting hired because everybody else is going to now pay attention to whatever that brand is or whatever that it's a trip. It's a different.
This isn't just in the video game industry, this is also in the film industry too. Maya Hawks revealed she knew several smart directors who have been told by producers that they must cast actors with a certain number of Instagram followers in order for a project to move forward. Taking a look at Susie Hunter, whose controversial role as Trish sparked fans to say she was picked due to her YouTuber status, which she claims was not true. But she was the only voice actor highlighted on the project by the company. None of the other voice actors got any recognition on the main channel. Also, they didn't use her acting name to promote her, but her YouTube name. Briana White was promoted as her Twitch handle Strange Rebel Gaming by the PlayStation's main account instead of her professional acting name. That is the difference between hiring an actor based on YouTube publicity and hiring based on talent. Yong Yea is being marketed in Like a Dragon for his YouTube channel. With the reality of future Sega recasts, maybe we'll see Susie Hunter appear in a Sega-related voice role soon. How much influence does marketing really have with localization? Square Enix presented at Game Developers Conference in 2007 about their process of localization, even explaining that North American marketing and QA teams help make calls on localization matters, going so far as to sitting down and playing builds of the game. So yes, marketing is absolutely involved with English localization of Japanese games. Now let's see this in action. Square Enix announced FF7 Remake in 2015 featuring the original cast as well as a translation that closely followed the Japanese script, showing the game was originally being localized in tandem with the Japanese version. Pause the video to see the difference between the Japanese script, the original 2015 English script, and then the finalized script, which fans are rightfully concerned with. Mind you, the Japanese script did not change since 2015. In an interview regarding the localization of FF7 Remake, Noriko Ueda was asked at what state of development the localization team was involved in. Ueda states, "We were involved from 2015, the year when the first trailer of FF7 Remake was announced." This same localization team was on the FF7 Remake project since 2015, proving they had the ability all along to stay true to the Japanese version with the original actors and appropriate translations. But something happened between 2015 and 2019 that caused a massive change of direction with localization. Since the localization department did not change, what did? The marketing department! The Square Enix marketing department drastically changed in 2018 when 20-year Blizzard veteran and VP of Global Publishing took the executive position of Chief Marketing Officer. After that, several other Activision Blizzard employees filtered in, and then suddenly we see a shift in marketing of not only FF7 Remake but the brand of Square Enix itself. Again, that's the marketing department's job, and notice it follows closely with Blizzard branding. Since the localization department did not change from the 2015 version of FF7 Remake, but the marketing department did change, including a new marketing executive, this gives more evidence that marketing has control of localization due to target audience. Remember, auditions for FF7 Remake were held after the marketing department was revamped, not before. A great example is the localization of FF7 Remake going so far off the rails from the Japanese intent that playing in English is like playing a whole different game than what you play in Japanese and other languages. The remake localization is clearly meant to target a new younger audience, as not only has the script been overhauled with the younger vernacular, but the leading roles are voiced by celebrity heartthrobs from young adult television series Teen Wolf. Any aspect of a game has potential to be transformed into a marketing tool, especially voice actors. Remember Chris Pratt as Mario? Yong Yea remembers.
Not ruling out the possibility that Chris Pratt might do a pretty good Mario voice and impression, but why get an impression when you've got the real deal? But they went with Chris Pratt, you know why? Because Chris Pratt is a known name among the masses. Hollywood does what Hollywood does, but again, marketing-wise, it's better to go with Chris Pratt. It's what's gonna sell more tickets.
Let me ask you something. Do you even listen to yourself when you open your mouth?
This is a perfect example of how a marketing team can steer the localization team in a different direction by shifting the target audience. The script is then changed and actors are recast to better market to their desired target audience, all while attempting to keep the voice as close to the original actors to appease Japan because it is a recast and they need to have vocal consistency. Why would Cody Christian deliver this line just like Steve Burton if they truly wanted a new direction?
Not interested. I think.
Not interested.
Why would Yong Yea imitate Kurylo's voice if they needed to recast?
Leave this part to me.
Leave this part to me.
Again, marketers want big names that resonate in their target audience that can do a voice match to the original actor. Let's take the same situation and apply it to Sega, knowing how Ryan Lacina moved from Square Enix to Sega. Many of the same localizers working on Gaiden, Infinite Wealth, and Yakuza 0 are the same localizers that worked on Yakuza Like a Dragon, which featured Darryl Kurylo voicing Kiryu. The localizers that have newly joined the Yakuza team have been with Sega and Atlus for decades, including Semi Matsushima and Mason Hyodo, who were on the localization team for Catherine and the revamped Catherine Full Body, which had the original actors come back to the title without recasting. Jonathan Stebble, the PR manager at Atlus, stated in an interview regarding Catherine Full Body, after 8 years away from the recording studio for this game, the simplest thing to do would be to recast these characters with new actors, right? However, in order to preserve the integrity of Catherine Full Body's English voiceover, our production team worked hard to bring back every English voice actor for the main cast, and a vast majority of the side cast, to record their characters' new lines. Mason Hyodo was also on the localization team for Persona 4 Golden, which featured the original actors reprising their roles. These localizers added to the Yakuza team have a history of having original actors return for newer projects, hence everyone returning to Gaiden except Kurylo. The department that changed drastically was the marketing department, having all new outside hires come in and shuffle things around, mainly VP of Brand Marketing Ryan Lacina, based on his previous work with the recast of FF7 Remake. Just as stated in our Persona video, John Haneke issued a recast 8 months after being hired, and comparatively, 8 months after Ryan Lacina was hired, Persona 3 and Yakuza were recast all while the localization departments and casting directors stayed the same, and continuing to use the original actors until both companies' marketing departments went through a major transformation. Many of the Japanese developers have no clue what is going on in the English localizations of their games. Final Fantasy Tactics writer Yasumi Matsuno confirmed he has no control over the English localization after fans voiced their concerns of the direction the modern localizers will take, showing they do work separately. Yoshimi Yasuda even stated for Lollipop Chainsaw he could not get in contact with the key people at Warner Brothers doing the English localization, where they even changed the main character's name, so in retrospect, how much power does Japan have over the Western localizations anymore? Masayoshi Yokoyama, writer and producer of Yakuza, says, "We ask our teams in the United States and Europe to read the game script and then tell us if they see things that wouldn't be acceptable in their country. Changes often focus on alcohol, politics, or religion, while cultural reference points also differ. How easy is it to say something is offensive in our country and we must change it?" That is the key phrase into how Sega America and other Western branches of Japanese companies are forcing changes into the games. They just claim something is offensive when the majority of the population doesn't find it offensive. And Japan doesn't know any better because it's a cultural claim and they're over in Japan. Based on Yokoyama saying they trust their Western counterparts, I would think he feels the Western branch wouldn't mislead them. Why? Because since September 2022, their focus has been on the overseas market. They have given trust to the Western branch to properly westernize Like a Dragon, and according to corporate marketers, all that Westerners like are celebrities and YouTubers, which is why they are recasting characters even if the West actually wants those actors. I showed you earlier how Kurylo stated he was glad for the authentic casting, and Sega America said they wanted to capture Japanese culture after the marketing department got a new VP of brand marketing. I would wager someone used the excuse that Kurylo voicing Kiryu is offensive to the West and they had to recast with the YouTuber that has 1.18 million followers, and not Alex Lee out of all the actors to choose from. I guarantee you Japan is not checking the other actors on the roster to confirm if this excuse is valid. They are busy making the game. They claim they have English checks, but fans aren't claiming they're adding random scenes. Fans are complaining that the voice of the localizers seems to be the authoritarian voice of Western culture, when what is considered offensive is purely up to who is hired and working in the localization and marketing departments, and it is not a reflection of the entire Western society. The English speakers in Japan will not know any better and will just trust the localization team and trust that these things are indeed offensive. This is why fans are upset with localizers manipulating Japan. Roger Craig Smith was recast as Daigo in the same game and was replaced with Tim? If authentic casting was a huge concern for Sega America, then what is this? In Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza, they recasted Ron and replaced him with actor James Kirkland. Do they sound close enough?
Talking kind of big there, aren't you, Majima? Hope you haven't gotten rusty after all that sitting around. It's more believable than your soap opera amnesia story. Even after seeing me. You really don't remember, bro?
Marketing is calling the localization shots for some of these games and even company branding, which is why we see sudden voice actor changes in Sega after the marketing department was revamped by adding Lacina and restructuring it with a new marketing team. Since the localization team had some of the original localizers and the same casting directors on hand who hired Kurylo back in Like a Dragon, it logically makes sense that they did not issue the recast willingly, and ethnic casting wasn't a concern for them due to them keeping actors that did not match their character's ethnicity, and even casting Tim as Daigo and James as Saejima. If the new marketing team is putting pressure on localization to recast the main protagonist for marketing, the localization team can tell Japan the excuse that they need to hire an actor closer to Kiryu's ethnicity in order to get the approval of the character's recast from Japan. Using the ethnicity excuse would be an easy way to fire Kurylo if Kurylo was indeed already recording for the project, since localization most likely started for the November 2023 release. Brian Lacina announced his position October 17, 2022, about a month after Gaiden's announcement, which could be why the English dub was released a month later than the Japanese version. Since Japan had stated they trust their Sega counterparts with political and cultural issues, they would not argue the matter and will allow a recast without saying they are keeping the voice actors who are not the same ethnic background as the characters they are voicing. This would explain why Kurylo even mentioned Kiryu's ethnicity at all regarding his recast, because it was probably the reason he was told he was recast if they even gave him the respect of doing so. Marketing most likely was looking for a YouTuber to fill that role, and the best way to make that marketing ploy work smoothly would be to find one to closely match Kiryu's ethnicity so they can then use the excuse for authentic casting as a reason for recasting only the main protagonist. They then hire whomever the marketing team wants to fill that role and get the new actor to match the previous actor's voice. One of the localizers for Yakuza Like a Dragon said, "We approach every game like we want as many people to play it as possible, whether it's a sequel or a great entry point like this one. Like any gaming studio, they want the maximum number of eyes on the project to pull in more consumers to purchase more games. Hence why localization works with marketing to achieve this goal. High profits, happy studio, happy bosses, and happy shareholders." When a marketer sees a YouTuber that has an outreach of 1 million plus followers, what they really see is at least a quarter of that YouTuber's following purchasing the game. What better way to put a brand in front of as many eyes as possible than to tap into the built-in audience that YouTubers and streamers have? Marketers hope that putting these YouTubers and streamers in the game and then having them talk about it on their channel will increase project sales. This helps greatly if the project does not have a large marketing budget. They can use the help of streamers to push content on social media. Yong Yea was not the only person with online influence that caught Sega America's eye. Ryan Lacina shares this trailer collaboration with popular YouTuber and comedian Drewski, who has 3.91 million followers on YouTube. He's anticipating for roughly 1 million followers to purchase the game. But Drewski isn't really a gaming content creator. He is a mainstream popular comedian, and they are hoping that just putting him in a commercial will stir up interest with younger audiences and get the brand out there in hopes of pulling in more sales and having the Yakuza brand go mainstream. Twitch Overwatch streamer XQC, who has 12 million followers on Twitch, was pulled into a sponsorship with Infinite Wealth and was called out for being too much of a direct marketing attempt, especially since he doesn't play games like Yakuza but sticks to Overwatch and Fortnite. Fans know, Sega. Fans know. It's funny he played in Japanese and not English because the chat was telling him to switch. I guess Sega forgot to add that in his contract to play English to showcase Yong Yea, but hey, a game sold is a game sold. In this article detailing the partnership with XQC from The Gamer, it states, "The series has enough clout to stand on its own two legs, especially after the launch of the exceptionally well-made and popular Yakuza 0. And throwing money and free copies at streamers who can't even be bothered to look up the game they are streaming first doesn't seem like a great use of a marketing budget." If Sega wants to make the same mistakes marketing companies made when influencing first became a viable career and make deals with public personalities with the most followers instead of the most relevance to its product, that is entirely its business. But the backlash against the choice and the ultimate result of that stream proves that a fanbase's goodwill is a fickle thing, and more than that follower numbers aren't enough to market a game. Total copies sold based on the YouTuber stated above should be in the ballpark of about 4 million copies. Let's see how much Infinite Wealth sold. 1.66 million copies. That doesn't seem like much, but it made the developers incredibly happy to have sold 1 million copies in a week, which is unheard of to them because they consider the Yakuza brand to be a slow burn. Looks like marketing was a success. Well, at least for the Japanese language. I don't really think Yong Yea was the reason for the high sales numbers. Including the Japanese voiceover in the games will always save a poor English performance because fans will just play in Japanese, and will continue to purchase the game showing no matter who is voicing Kiryu, it will not hurt their sales, so marketing will continue to do as they wish until fans stop purchasing the games altogether, which will cause the company to either reinstate Kurylo or go with another actor depending on the fans' desires. Sales numbers control the company. You control them with your wallets. This happened with Square Enix when fans boycotted him in Absolution because they recast longtime voice actor David Bateson with William Apather. The boycott caused Square Enix to cave and reinstate David Bateson as Agent 47. This worked in this case because there was only one language to play in and fans would not have an option to play in Japanese, so they grew vocal and boycotted the game. The Japanese voice option is saving the Yakuza franchise.
Works for me. Now listen up. It's judgment time! We're starving dogs.
I do think the devs' happiness with the sales of Infinite Wealth is why Yong Yea is continuing to voice Kiryu. They don't want to change anything that could potentially cause them to lose their new momentum with sales. The issue with Yong Yea is fans are playing in Japanese because of his voice. They could have done a collaboration with him in a different way or gave him a different recurring role that better suited him, all while keeping Kurylo and garnering the same sales from promotions from other streamers. It is the marketing department's job to work with the actors that casting directors choose. But in modern gaming, marketing departments are playing casting directors and ignoring the decades of goodwill these actors have built with fans. They helped build the fanbase too, but corporate marketers are only focused on sales numbers, especially when they are an outside hire and have to prove themselves to be an asset to the team and show off their skills from past companies they worked at. Admitting they hired the wrong person for the role would hurt their reputation within the company. So even if you like them or not, they will continue to use that actor as long as sales are decent. I do think replacing Yong Yea would negatively impact the marketing team's reputation, which is why the marketing team is ignoring fans and still continue to use him even though fans are wanting Kurylo to return. Admitting they made a mistake would reflect poorly on them, so they force Yong Yea into the future titles even though fans aren't happy with his performance. It's all about their reputations, and they are sacrificing Yong Yea's reputation by continuing to do so. The Sega marketing department, which now consists of almost entirely new people, aren't looking at the fanbase to learn how to market. They are just looking at the follower counts and making deals assuming that is what will bring them more money. It's a gross detachment from the fanbase that was built for over 20 years. They want your money, not your happiness. They want Yong Yea to voice Kiryu, not fan favorite Kurylo. Having RGG promote Yong Yea as popular YouTuber shows that was their ulterior motive as to why they recast Kiryu. They wanted to tap into Yong Yea's followers because they did not see Kurylo as marketable, which shows they are detached from the desires of the fanbase and are not doing proper market research on the existing fans for the success of the franchise. It is a clear marketing attempt to recast only the protagonist while other actors are still reprising their roles, similar to what happened in Metal Gear Solid 5 when only David Hayter was recast with a Hollywood name while Emmerich and Miller were reprised by their original actors. Briana White had about 100,000 subscribers on her channel Strange Rebel Gaming at the time of the recast. Her channel consists of Let's Plays playing PlayStation exclusives, which would be a perfect match for the PlayStation exclusive game FF7 Remake. She has online outreach to pull in more gamers and also showcase and play the games on stream and partner with other streamers and YouTubers. While Briana still does come from an acting background, already performing in small indie films, she has never done voice work before, which isn't a qualification to voice act, but with little to no voice acting experience, how did a Twitch streamer secure the role of one of the biggest protagonists, which already had a voice actress? Out of all the supposed auditions, they chose the one that has never voice acted before, but has a streaming career, to take one of the biggest roles in Final Fantasy VII Remake, skipping on all these heavy-hitting voice actresses that were placed in additional voices. PR did try to refute that claim, but it's hard when casting directors look at every aspect of an actor down to their social media following before casting them.
So I didn't have a voiceover agent, I didn't have a voiceover demo, but casting found me through my theatrical agent, and my IMDb page basically was the story I was told. I thought for sure they had seen my YouTube videos or something.
Yeah.
Right.
You would
and they hadn't.
That's wild.
I know.
Oh my god.
Had nothing to do with the fact that I played video games, that I was a gamer, and I was just on the roster for my agency. My agent didn't even submit me for this role.
That is incredible.
I know.
Both Yong Yea and Briana also dressed up as their characters for a special event. Yong Yea had a bespoke suit made in Kiryu's honor, and Briana White dons the color scheme of Aerith while also handing out flowers at E3. Was this their own choice, or was this a decision by marketing because the whole FF7 Remake cast later dressed as their characters for the New York Comic Con? But Briana White went a bit further and actually did a cosplay of Aerith. Let's bring this guy back. The voice actress for Overwatch character Sombra did a cosplay which was reported on by Kotaku in March 2019 by journalist Luke Plunkett. Heineke must have thought that was a great idea because we see Briana White doing the same thing with Aerith on the same media site and by the same journalist in October 2020. What a freaking coincidence! Are marketers sharing the same ideas even between different companies? Once fans starts realizing a YouTuber has been chosen by marketing due to their following, YouTubers tend to make posts like this, most likely at the request of PR, showcasing their acting career and experience to give the impression they were chosen because they have an acting background and not due to their internet influence. Because marketing has a close eye on fan feedback, this is why they are quick to have these actors do interview circuits or posts to try and dispel what fans have figured out. Which shows you marketing thinks fans are idiots, and that we will be good little consumers and eat whatever is being spoon-fed to us. We can see through the smoke and mirrors. Companies need to see that fans are no longer accepting of seeing their favorite actors and characters be recast for no other reason than marketing. I feel there are many recasts we will be facing in the future unless fans push back against these companies. Again, I'm not saying YouTubers and streamers don't belong in the acting world. It's the intentional recasting of a long-term actor for them to be replaced with a YouTuber, and then have the YouTubers imitate the original actor's voice that is cause for concern because it's at the sacrifice of the original actor for none other than marketing. Buying the game and playing with the Japanese voices still gives these companies money, and they will continue the trend of recast because fans are still purchasing the game. The only way to change the direction of a product in modern time is to vote with your wallets. It looks like they will continue to add English voiceover for all the Yakuza games moving forward as they prepare them for mainstream audiences, which includes continuing to use Yong Yea. Remember, the choice is yours.